So as I was writing the sermon this week, I realized I had two sermons, and I'm not going to try to preach both of them to you today. But since it is stewardship season, and this is a stewardship sermon, and next week will be too, maybe you'll get to hear both of them. I don't know. If I decide the other one was good enough to bring back. The second reading today is from Matthew 22, verses 15 through 22. And this is continuing in Holy Week, continuing in that period of time when Jesus is going to his death and is facing some of the most significant challenges that he is from the leaders in both the political sphere and the religious sphere. Jesus, we saw a couple weeks ago, started to take questions and have to deal with some challenges, and this week he continues again. This time the issue is between him and the Pharisees and the Herodians. I invite you now to listen for God's word in Matthew 22. Then the Pharisees went and plotted to entrap him in what he said. So they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and teach the way of God in accordance with truth and show deference to no one, for you do not regard people with partiality. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. And then he said to them, "Whose head is this? And whose title?" They answered, "The emperor's." And he said to them, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and give to God the things that are God's." When they heard this, they were amazed, and they left him and went away. Friends, this is the word of the Lord. Well, today, as we continue the stewardship season and our church's annual pledge drive, we hear from Jesus in the scriptures on the subject of money. And this is actually the lectionary text for the week, so you might think that it's quite a coincidence. But if you want to play the odds with scripture, it turns out that they're actually pretty good. Did you know that in the New Testament, Jesus tells 38 unique parables, and 16 of them, almost half, have to do with money or possessions? In the Gospels, there are 288 verses that deal specifically with money. That's about a tenth of the verses in all four Gospels. And while the whole Bible has around 500 verses on the subject of prayer, and almost that many on the subject of faith, it has over 2,000 on the subject of wealth. God seems to care about what we do with money. And I hope we do too. As we look to the Matthew text today, Jesus has wisdom on this subject to share. And the question that gets put to him is specifically about taxes. Should we pay our taxes to the secular authority or not? But his answer, as short and pithy as it is, speaks volumes and expands our understanding of good stewardship. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, I preached on the parable of the two sons, and I talked about dishonest questions. Questions where we aren't trying to learn, we're trying to make a point or win an argument. And last time that question was about Jesus' authority, and the temple leaders found out they didn't like the answer. Today, Matthew 22 delivers another one of these questions to Jesus from a very unlikely alliance. The disciples of the Pharisees and the Herodians are getting together to set a trap for him. Now, these are two groups with two very different political ideologies, let's say. The Pharisees, as we know, are a group of Jews with a strict religious code. They follow the law to the letter. They saw Roman rule as oppressive and unwanted, and they resisted all secular influence in every way they could. Herodians, on the other hand, we don't know much about them, but we know that they were supporters of the line of Herods in Judea. Herod Antipas, Herod Archelaus, Herod the Great, all of these puppet governors that Rome established in Judea at the time. Now, they were sympathetic to the empire. They were lax in their religious practice, and they benefited from their allegiance with Rome at the expense of their fellow Jews. Pharisees and Herodians did not see eye to eye on much. In fact, they would have been on opposite sides of this taxation question. But that was really the whole point. Together, they come up with a plan to butter Jesus up with flattery, tell him how respected and trustworthy he is, and then throw him into the middle of their political dispute where there is no right answer. There is nothing that Jesus can say that won't get him in trouble. He can't advise paying taxes to Caesar, or the Pharisees and the people who hate paying those taxes are going to lose favor with him. He can't tell them to reject the tax, or the Herodians are going to report him to the authorities. They're going to accuse him of being an agitator, of treason and sedition. So these two groups together think they've got Jesus trapped. And note that the Pharisees have sent their disciples to go with the Herodians and set this trap. Likely because that's the only way the trap works. They know they can't go themselves because Jesus will recognize them. And he'll know right away that they're up to no good. He'll know their flattery is insincere. He'll know that their question is not an honest question. So they brief and send their underlings, but despite all the planning and scheming, Jesus sees right through this plot, and he asks, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." Well, early readers of Matthew would be familiar with this coin and with the tax. It's a denarius, a Roman coin, a day's wage, required to be paid annually by all adult males who lived within the Roman Empire. It's a poll tax, a head tax. Value-wise, 1 day's wage annually is not a whole lot. It's not that much to be upset about. But this tax is particularly offensive to Jews and certainly to the Pharisees for a couple of reasons. First, it's a reminder of Rome's power over the people they've conquered. You are obliged to pay. And when you do that, you have to acknowledge your submission. You have to acknowledge that Rome is in charge. Worse, though, it had to be paid with that denarius, with that Roman coin that, depending on when it was minted, either has Augustus or Tiberius Caesar's face on it and an inscription to the effect of "Caesar is Lord" or "the Son of God." Jews shouldn't even carry such a coin. It breaks both the first and second commandments. It's a graven image that proclaims worship of someone other than Yahweh. So this is a very offensive coin to the Jews. You remember the incident in the temple where Jesus got so upset with the money changers? See, this was their job. They had to take the blasphemous denarii that were not allowed into the temple and convert them for good Jewish shekels that were okay to use in offerings. That's how offensive the coins were to most Jews, and so they thought to God. Of course, this incident demonstrates that many Jews were in the habit of carrying this dirty money anyway. That's a little odd. Notice in particular when Jesus asks the disciples of the Pharisees for one of these, they don't seem to have any problem producing one. So he says, "Show me this coin. Whose head, whose title is on it?" In Greek, he asks, whose icon, whose image? And this word is a great clue to what really matters to Jesus, so bear it in mind. But the disciples quickly answer, "Caesar's, the emperor's." This is an easy one. I think they're getting excited because they've almost got him nailed to the wall here. They figure that a devout Jew like Jesus is going to suggest they reject the tax and the idolatrous coin used to pay it, and then he'll get strung up by the Herodians, and they will have succeeded. Instead, Jesus basically shrugs and says, then give it back to Caesar. Who cares? Caesar's coin belongs to him. Give it back. Whatever. The Greek term for render or give back, apodidomai, is used when you talk about paying a debt, repaying a debt, giving back something that you owe to someone. It's not give it to Caesar as if it's a gift or something that you could choose to give or not give. It's specifically give back to Caesar what already belongs to him. Give back to the other party what really is theirs in the first place. So Jesus says, go ahead, give it back. Doesn't matter. And then he stuns them all by adding, give back to God what belongs to God. Jesus uses the same word again, apodidomai. Give back to God what already belongs to him, what is already his, that you are holding, you are carrying. It belongs to him, but you're treating it like it belongs to you. And I can imagine the disciples of the Pharisees thinking, what do you mean, Jesus? Are you implying that we have held something back from God? We're religious. We keep the whole law. We tithe. We make all the sacrifices at the right times. What belongs to God that we haven't given him? Indeed, what belongs to God? That's the real question, isn't it? Jesus says you know what belongs to Caesar because of the image on it. The coin has the icon of Caesar printed on it. Whatever bears Caesar's image belongs to Caesar. And whatever bears God's image belongs to God, right? And I imagine the minds of these good disciples turned immediately to Genesis 1:26 and 27. Then God said, let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness. So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And I imagine even those spiritually lazy Herodians would have been able to quote that from the creation story. And both would have quickly understood what Jesus was saying to them. You are made in God's image. You belong to God. Just as this denarius belongs to Caesar, you belong to God. So who or what are you really giving yourself to? Some people give themselves to their jobs. They prioritize their work above all else with very reasonable explanations. I'm providing for my family. I'm doing something that matters. I'm the right person for the job. And yet they turn work into an idol. They mar the image of God in them and remake themselves in the image of vocational fulfillment. Some people prioritize their ideology. They give themselves to their ideology or their causes. They prioritize the ideal above all else. Again, with very reasonable explanations. I'm fighting for freedom. I'm fighting for justice. I'm fighting for a vision of this society that would be better for everyone involved. And then they turn their ideals into the idol. They mar the image of God in them, and they remake themselves in the image of the political leader or trend. Some people give themselves to a relationship. It could be romantic, it could be a mentor, it could be a parent and child, it could be something else. They prioritize that relationship until all that matters is serving the other person and winning their approval. They too can have very reasonable explanations. She's amazingly talented and beautiful. Yes, she is. He's the top of his field. She's done so much for me. She really deserves it. But in the end, they turn the relationship into an idol. They mar the image of God in them and remake themselves in the image of another human being. And some people give themselves to money. It's ironic when we talk about stewardship and what we give our money to, but there are plenty of people who get it backwards and end up giving the best of themselves to the pursuit of wealth. Again, we have reasonable explanations. I'm just trying to get to where we're comfortable and don't have to worry about it anymore. I just want to make sure that I have something nice to leave to my kids. But by trusting in money to be the source of our safety and security, we have again created an idol that we worship instead of God. Jesus' point to the Pharisees, to the Herodians, and to all of us is that you belong to God, only to God. And you cannot rightly give yourself to anything other than God. The Herodians missed it by giving themselves to political power and comfort instead of God. The Pharisees missed it, however subtly, by giving themselves to the law instead of to God. We miss it too, in 100 different ways. But Jesus wants to remind us of the image that we bear and teach us to bring more honor, to be better stewards of that divine image. We just started a video resource for Family Sunday School that you can find on our website, where we've got various leaders and families recording all ages lessons that you can watch at home with your kids, with your grandkids, and you can answer the questions and you can do the activities together. And for the video that just went up this week, the Roberts partnered up with our neighbors, and Charlotte brought her 3 friends over, and together we learned about God's most special creation, human beings. We learned about what makes us special to God, what makes us unique, and it is that we're made in God's image. We bear the divine image. And when I asked the kids what that image is, what is God like? I got some fantastic answers. God is strong. God is a helper. God is loving. God likes to create. Yes, God is all these things, and that means God has made you to be all these things too. You who bear God's image, you are meant to be and do all of these things. You are meant to serve and reflect God. Not Caesar, not Rome, not America, not another person, not money, not stuff, not anything other than God. So this question, what belongs to God, is a mantra Jesus wants us to take with us everywhere. And I think the more we remember to ask it, the more we will realize we don't have anything that doesn't belong to God. We can be so tempted to draw lines and try to divide up what's mine, what's yours, what's Caesar's, what's God's. God, I'll give you this 2 hours here for Bible study if you'll leave me alone to do what I want on Friday night. God, I'll pitch in another $100 a month if you'll just get off my back about what I'm paying for the cable package. God, I'll let you have control of this over here if you let me stay in charge of that over there. But all these lines don't mean very much when I remember it's not even my stuff that belongs to God, it's me. It's me who bears his image. So what if work and chores and studies and taking care of my family and even recreation could become things that I did for God instead of for myself? What if time and talents and treasures all became things that I didn't see as blessings meant for my own enjoyment, but tools God has given me to do his work? Friends, we belong to God. We belong to God. So that means what we buy, how we vote, who we hang out with, how we fill our calendars, all of these belong to God. All of these are opportunities for us to act faithfully to God. By turning our attention to what belongs to God, Jesus doesn't mean for us to draw a line and put some of our obligations on this side and some on that side. He is calling us to weigh all of our decisions day in and day out against the ancient wisdom of our tradition that the earth and everything in it belongs to the Lord. If we confess that we are made in the image of God, then we know whose we are, and we know what we should render back to him. Friends, this is the good news for the people of God today. Thanks be to God.